The mental health app employing Prince Harry as its chief impact officer reportedly faces an insurrection from its counselors over claims they face a sneaky pay cut, as some staff admitted they are still in the dark about what the royals' job entails. BetterUp promises to support the whole person while the firm they work for pays for it using of 2,000 life coaches accessible via a Tinder-style app, but some working there have accused bosses of having questionable ethics. The Silicon Valley company has refused to say what the Duke of Sussex is paid, but it is likely to highly lucrative for the royal, especially after the business was valued at almost $5 billion after snapping up clients including Facebook, Airbnb and LinkedIn, well as corporate giants including Hilton, Chevron, and Mars. But a revolt is brewing amongst staff at the wellness firm, who claim are being unethically treated after a row over pay and contract changes. Coaches are said to be quitting and considering suing, with one declaring, for a company whose mission is to help empower people throughout the world. They're not walking the walk. One said, "There's so many of us now who are upset. I would say my heart is broken. And I think there's really questionable ethics going on. They've turned us into a commodity." And referring to the recruitment drive in recent years, the period when Harry himself joined, another irate coach said, "They hired and hired and hired, over the past couple of years. They have so many VPs. Now, I don't even know what these VPs do." They are also not clear what Harry does for the company, branding it marketing smoke and mirrors. The row is about levels of pay and a social media-style rating system that would also influence their fees. One critic said, "From an ethical perspective, we are there to coach the client, not to have them press the like button." No one will see any sort of decrease in their effective session rate compared to their 2021 effective session rate, a BetterUp executive wrote to coaches yesterday. The company is yet to comment, but TBD has claimed that a U-turn may be coming. It came as Duke of Sussex has chided the reluctance of Britons to seek counselling and praised what he called the "I'll get my therapist to call your therapist" mentality he's found since moving to California with Meghan. Phillip Schofield, Holly Willoughby, Nick Ferrari and Sonia Sodha discussed the latest headlines, and Prince Harry's recent podcast comments came up. He claimed the cultural difference between the UK and the US were immense when it comes to openly talking about therapy, and accused Brits of dismissing the conversation. As the guests and presenters analysed the remarks, Sonia pointed out Harry didn't address the extortionate cost of therapy in America and how difficult it can be in the UK to be able to start seeing a therapist. In Reid Hoffman's Master of Skill podcast, Prince Harry stated, "You talk about it here in California, I'll get my therapist to call your therapist." Whereas in the UK it's like, "Therapist? What therapist? Whose therapist? I don't have a therapist. No, I definitely don't. I've never spoken to a therapist." Talking about Harry's remarks, Holly argued, "There's this idea that it's sort of therapy is seen as a weakness over here." She continued by asking, "I mean, does he have a point with this?" "I think he does have a point," Sonia started. "In the sense that there is a more open culture in some parts, I would say, not all parts of America. But I think a bigger problem we've got here in the UK actually is the lack of investment in mental health services. So if you're having issues, if you're suffering from anxiety, the waiting lists for talking therapies are just insane. You could be waiting months and months, some people even years." Delving into Harry's comparison, she added, "And I think one of the things that Prince Harry sometimes doesn't acknowledge, and I think he hasn't acknowledged here, is actually therapy is very, very expensive, particularly in the US. So there are some people who can access therapy in the US very easily, but there are some parts in the US with very high levels of poverty and people going through really difficult mental health issues with have no access to it." Nick pointed out Harry and Prince William made a hugely positive difference in encouraging the country to open up about their experiences with mental health. Meanwhile, others watching from home also gave their view on the subject. Twitter user @jbaker94 wrote, "There is still a stigma surrounding mental health. No one answers honestly to 'how are you?' if they are suffering with mental health problems." #This morning. At Trailer Homes penned, Harry is becoming very Americanized. #This morning. Employers still hate people with mental health illnesses. #This morning, shared at IckyBicky. At Lady Fernie asked, "Why do they keep reporting news on Prince Harry and Sparkle?" #This morning. At Miss Lionheart shared, "Of course there are some people who can access a therapist easily, and they are called A-list celebrities." #This morning. Sick of hearing about Prince Harry so much for being private. #This morning. At Queen_Vix88 posted,